Hello and welcome to the latest in the series of webinars called Creating a Better Laundry. I'm Andy Marsh and today we're talking washer extractors. The history of washing is almost as old as mankind itself. As soon as we started to don furs and skins, then we had a need to clean them. You've all seen those videos of washerwomen by the river or by the lake rubbing garments on stones. Well, we've moved on since then. We've gone through communal wash houses in ancient Greece to the Victorian laundries of old. We've gone through mangles and hydros and spin dryers, and we're now bang up to date with the modern washer extractor. Let's consider the basics. Well, obviously for a standard wash you need water. Then you're going to need some kind of heat. Certain processes work at different temperatures. Then you've got to think about mechanical action. Think about linens and cloths being rubbed on stones in rivers and lakes. The type of linen you want to wash is also important. Wool will swell and shrink and the fibres in cotton will do so, but polyester is stable. And then think about the chemistry. What are you going to use to remove those stubborn stains? So in order for those things that I've just mentioned to be successful, you need to consider some other things in your washing program as well. First of all, you need to consider the temperature. Modern washing machines can run at 40 degrees, and with the ozone technology you can even run lower. That will cut down the time. The time that you do each of these things is very important to make sure that each part of the process works properly. Then you need to look at the water level. The water level is really important. Too much water, you're not going to get enough mechanical action. Too little water, you're not going to dissolve the solids. And then the machine has a weight. If it's a 50-kilo machine, load it to that correct weight. If you underload, you might have too much chemistry, you can damage the linen. If you overload, the material can't move around inside the wash and you don't get a decent chemical action and you won't get the staining out. So what kind of chemistry is in the modern wash process? Well, we could look at things like surfactants. Along with surfactants, there might be emulsifiers. After the emulsifiers or during that process, you might use some enzymatic or enzymes. With the enzymes having done their job, you might use some bleaches. And right at the end of the process, you might introduce some softeners. But I'm going to look at those in a little bit more detail next. A key element to modern detergent is the surfactant. The surfactant lowers the surface tension of the water so it can penetrate deep into the linen. When it's inside the linen, it can get rid of those water-soluble stains. The surfactant also coats this type of staining to stop it redepositing on the linen. Emulsifiers can be added later. They break down oil and fat. They're very beneficial in healthcare scenarios. Another chemical at work in the wash process are enzymes. Enzymes attack proteins, breaking them down into smaller molecules which are then easier to get rid of. You have to be careful with enzymatic processes because they can cause skin rashes if you don't use enough rinse water. Bleaches take the dye out of the stains. They don't actually remove them. The oxygen in the bleach takes the colourant out. A common bleach is sodium hypochlorite or chlorine bleach, but do be careful because they can damage the cellulose in cotton if used in too high a concentration. Probably the last chemical to use in the wash process is a softener. It goes in with the rinse and is normally only used on towels and bathrobes. You have to take care in your tumble dryers because you can undo the softener in there if you use too much heat. There are probably too many other chemicals to talk about in this webinar, but things you could look at are sours, which deal with alkalinity, OBAs, which improve brightness, and then you have things like disinfectants and fungicides. What are the stages of a modern washer extractor program? Well, firstly, you'll have a break wash. The break wash wets all the work down. You'll then have an extraction followed by a main wash. A main wash will introduce chemistry and temperature. Another extraction, and then you're on to the rinsing. The rinsing washes out all of the soil and all of the excess chemistry. And then you'll have a final extraction. You're going to go up to high spin and it will take out most of the water. Typically, a washer extractor will spin at about 300 G, 300 times the force of gravity, and it will get rid of 50% of the moisture. But don't forget, in all of these processes, there's a lot of mechanical action. The drum may rotate one way or the other, causing the linen to rub up against itself and in the sides, thus loosening the soil. So having looked at the basic behind the washing process, what should you look for in a good washer extractor? Well, firstly, you want a decent control system. You want it to have many programmable options. You want a program for each of your linens. You want it to be able to spin at high speed or intermediate spin. You want to be able to control the heat. You want to be able to control the dump valves. You want to be able to control the temperature. It has to be great, and it also has to be user friendly. And of course, if you're going to control a load going round at 300G, you want something that's of a decent construction. Look for solid machines, stainless steel drums, big baffles inside the drum to help mechanical action. Look for a machine that has more than one dump valve so you can maybe put some of your water into a recycling pit. All of these things are key in making your decision. Now we've had a look at the wash program and the chemistry, it's probably worth looking at how we're going to heat the water. Smaller machines use electric elements. They heat the water well, but it's expensive and the elements can fur up and then break down. Steam is a good way to heat water. Injectors introduce the steam into the water and it rises the temperature. You have to be careful with the steam pressure. Anything over 6 bar can be damaging. You could also use a hot water heater that creates water at the temperature that you want and stores it so that you can introduce the water at the right time and the right temperature. This is a very good way of doing it, and these water heaters are normally fueled by gas. To decide what size of washer extractor you need to understand how much work you're going to process. You don't want a machine that's too small and having to run 20 loads a day, and equally you don't want a machine that's too big so you're underloading it. Have a look at the linen that you need to process and subdivide it into equal loads. That should give you a good guide on what you want. Also, larger machines tend to last longer. The big robust industrial machines have a 10 to 15 year working life minimum, whereas the smaller 8 kilo domestic style machines will probably break within 3 or 4 years. Now we understand a lot more about the washer extractor and its processes, it's probably time to talk about how efficient they are. There is no doubt that the washer extractor process is excellent at removing stains, but there is a downside. A typical washer extractor will use anything between 15 and 30 litres of water per kilogram produced. A similar machine size in a batch washer will be down to 5 litres per kilo. If you're using steam to heat your washer extractor, you'll probably be using 2.5 kilowatt hours per kilo of linen washed. It's important at this stage that I talk about the relationship between yourselves and your chemical suppliers. Many years ago, laundries would program their own machines and do their own chemistry, but over the last 2 decades this has phased out in the industry. The relationship you have with your soap supplier is key. They write your programs, they set the temperatures, and they control the quality of the linen that eventually gets to your customer. This relationship is very important and you must pay attention to it. The soap suppliers that operate around the world are all very good. There's large ones and small ones. But if you tell them what you want, then it's very clear for them what they have to do. Never forget that they have the quality of your laundry in their hands. The relationship between you and the supplier of your washer extractor is very important. If you've taken the time to do your homework and you've found the right supplier for you, then you will know that it's obvious that service is as important as the quality of the machine. It's no good if the design of the machine is very good, but you have to wait 2 weeks for spare parts. Look into this and make sure that the company that you spend your money with has got your back. Thanks for watching this webinar, and I hope you found it informative. I'm Andy Marsh and I run Marsh Project Solutions. We're a small consultancy firm based in the UK. I offer advice and assistance to laundries around the world. If you think you've got a problem that I can help you with, please contact me on support@mpsl.org.uk. Thanks very much for watching.